Everybody has feat, specifically 2 of them, but D&D has over 75. As someone who prides themselves on their completely irrelevant knowledge of D&D rules, I had no choice but to go through all of them. So I sat down with Jake from JNJTabletop and literally went one by one through every single feat, going over their strengths and weaknesses to get a better understanding of how D&D in 2024 is going to go. So buckle up and get ready, because boy howdy do we have a video for you today. First thing I do want to make a quick call out for, and I know it's not necessarily super important, but they made ability score improvements just a feat that you pick, and you can pick it multiple times to make it more simple.
Yeah, and it means feats aren't an optional rule anymore. You can take 2 of them and walk on them if you want.
I got a defective one. I got 2 left feet. Anyways, let's start in the actual feat changes. So the first feat change is going to be Actor. Previously, you would increase your ability score in Charisma by 1 to a maximum of 20. You would have advantage on Deception and Performance checks when you're trying to pass yourself off as a different person. And you can mimic the speech of another person or sound of other creatures. You obviously have had to heard that creature or person before, but with a successful Insight check, contested by a Deception check, you can successfully determine if that effect would be faked or not. So, very, very specific use case, but a very cool niche that I think is really nice. But what did they change in this one, Mr. Jake?
Yeah, largely it's the same, but the mimicking speech part really is the part that stands out to me, because instead of it being contested checks, it's basically you force an insight check against the DC 8 plus your charisma modifier and proficiency bonus. I was about to say, like, since you are impersonating someone, would the advantage get baked in and add the +5? But I think it very specifically tells you what that formula is, so unless errata came out to convince me it was something else, I would say, no, this is how it works.
Yeah,
because that's what it says. But yeah. Largely it's the same. I tend to like opposed checks for things, but I think this would largely speed the game up. So, yeah. It's largely the same. The spirit of it's still there.
I do find myself enjoying contested checks as well, but I do also find that contested checks tend to be some of the more confusing roles that tables tend to have.
So fair. Very fair.
So, I understand both. I like both. I prefer the contested check, but realistically speaking, it is what it is. And one thing I do want to actually call out, and that I remembered as I'm looking at this really quickly, is that a lot of the feats in the update to 2024 have prerequisites now. Previously, the Actor feat had no prerequisite, but now it has a prerequisite of level 4 with a charisma of 13. And while that's not necessarily a heavy prerequisite, a lot of these basic feats do have things like that. So it's worth mentioning, at least, just so you're aware of them.
It is a fair point, though, because a lot of people, when they start theory crafting, and a lot of comments that I've noticed on our channel, people often assume, like, oh, you can just do all these things. It's like, well, what are the prerequisites? What does it actually entail to get to that path you're talking about? Is that heavy enough of an investment? All these kinds of things. So
yeah,
it's significant.
I think they had things like origin feats, and then they had general feats, and then other things. I don't actually general feats. Thank you, sir. I don't actually know the actual verbiage that they use, but that's what we're working with here.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Next up, we have alert. Alert's an interesting one that was honestly has screwed me a couple of times in our Eve of Ruin campaign. Link in the description if you want to go check that out. Where you used to gain a +5 bonus to your initiative. You can't be surprised as long as you're conscious, and other creatures don't gain advantage against you as a result of being unseen. So if a creature, they don't have advantage on attack against you just because you're alert for somehow.
Yeah, invisibility no longer
matters.
I don't care. Make invisibility matter again, Lee. I think the change to alert is so good for the game. The fact that you just can't be surprised while you're conscious, 2 thumbs down. If I had more thumbs than that, I would throw them down as well. It's one of those things, yeah. It's one of those things that's it's just not good for the game. And I love that it's now you use your proficiency bonus on your initiative rolls, so your alertness grows with you. I love things that do that. Yeah. This is an origin feat, so back to the prerequisite conversation that you talked about before. This is something you take at level 1. You could take it later on, but this is something that's going to be fun to have right off the bat. But the thing I think is probably the most fun part of this new feat is that you have initiative swap. After you roll initiative, you can swap places with an ally if they're willing and they're not incapacitated. One thing I think it's underrated and not overlooked a lot is I'm playing a wizard. I want to go first. I want to put out that fireball. I want to cast slow or hypnotic pattern or all these kinds of things that you want to do, because then my nasty fighter, barbarian, everybody that follows me is going to take advantage of those things. So I love the new version of Alert a lot.
I think we even used it in the latest episode, right? Where you swapped positions with me. And
it was fantastic.
You slowed or something, and then I just went in and just friggin' whirlwinded.
As you slowed aired yet, although it might by the time this video airs. I don't know. You'll have to find out.
Next up, we have a new feat with Archery, which just gives you a +2 bonus to your attack rolls made with ranged weapons.
The thing I like about the way it's structured with that is that if you're a paladin and you want to be an archer, now you're not limited. So it just opens that door up a little bit. It's a quality of life change.
All right, next up, we have, again, another fighting style feat with you have blind sight with a range of 10 feet. Great. I love this feat. I make use of it frequently.
Oh, yes. That is nice.
It's a good one.
It's like, you cast darkness on me. I do not care.
Exactly. Going back to the invisible not mattering, right?
Yeah.
And then all of these next ones are actually going to be epic boons. We're not going to cover that in this video. Maybe we'll make another one later on. I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. I probably just threw that on his shoulders. He wasn't prepared for it. He's panicking right now. Look at the trepidation in that man's face. But yeah, we're not going to go over all the epic boons now. These are all the ones that you get like once you hit level 19 plus to increase your level of play up to like level 30 or something like that. And then we'll skip right on down to the feats we are all well and familiar with Charger. And this one actually is kind of cool. Previously, when you use your action to dash, you can use your bonus action to make one melee weapon attack or shove a creature. If you move at least 10 feet in a straight line before taking this bonus action attack, you either gain a +5 bonus to the attack damage, or you can push the target up to 10 feet away, your choice. And that's the old version, but the new version is significantly improved.
It's so good. Right off the bat, because it's a general feat, salute, you can increase either your strength or your dexterity by 1, so right away this is better. Improved dash. When you take the dash action, your speed increases by 10 feet for that action. So monks and rogues are going to be like, Charger? Yes, please. I do that as a bonus action. So there we go. And then the charge attack. So we've got some similar things here, but if you move at least 10 feet, it's not requiring you to use the dash action. You just have to move at least 10 feet. So when you're, for the most part, when you're going to engage with a new target and you move in a straight line, when you hit it with a melee attack roll, as part of the attack action, of course, you can choose one of the following effects. You can either deal an extra d8 of damage to the attack's damage roll, always nice, or you can push the target 10 feet away, and you can only use this benefit once in each of your turns. This is just wonderful. I mean, like, there's nothing not to like here. Charger used to be one of those things where it's like, man, I gotta use a dash action to do this. Like, it's just so action economy clunky and clanky. Like, this is something that's gonna come up often.
They even removed the bonus action for the attack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's to dash and the bonus action attack. Like, there's so much quality of life adjustment here.
Yep.
And another thing that we're going to find as we go through all these feats is so many of them have been updated with ability score improvements. Like, nearly all of them have had that added into it, which make it so much less painful to choose a feat that isn't necessarily as powerful as 2 stat points. All right, anyways, that's Charger. Very good. Next up, we have a...
Chef?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't see the legacy version.
Chef wasn't updated, right? It was just taken over from Tasha's.
The thing that's kind of obnoxious about Chef, the general feat, you can't start your heroic career
as a chef. But wait, backgrounds happen. Or isn't Chef like a background or something?
It's a general feat. It's not an origin feat. It's got a prerequisite of level 4. You get an ability score increase.
That's really funny. That's so lame. Oh well. Yeah, chef's still useless. What do you want from us? Anyways, moving on.
Boom.
We're moving on to another useless feat. Well, maybe not. It depends on how you want to look at it. The new feat with Crafter.
Yep. In the hands of a crafty mind. You get a 20% discount on non-magical items.
Yay!
I know how to build things with Mason's tools, so when I buy a healing potion...
But isn't a healing potion is magical?
I guess.
So it doesn't count. You're fast crafting.
That's true. You get a janky version.
Listen, I will 100% admit I am not familiar with the crafting rules in 5th edition. Never have been, never will be. And I do know that they have tried to improve crafting in 2024, and I also know I'm still not happy with the crafting rules in 2024. They definitely made them better, but I'm still not happy with them.
Well, you can, after you finish a long rest, you can craft one piece of gear from the fast crafting table that's provided below.
You can make a jug.
It lasts until you finish nothing.
You can make a jug, and then it breaks after a day. Like, you're just that shoddy of a crafter that you can't make a bucket without it lasting a day. Like,
there's a hole in it.
It is the shittiest feat I have ever read.
But at least you get a stat increase. No,
you don't.
It's an origin feat. Moving on.
Listen, if we could very well be missing something, because like I said, I'm not fully caught up on all the crafting rules in 2024. So if we're missing something, or you like this feat, let us know, and please actually explain why, because I honestly do not see it. All right, Crossbow Expert. Previously, Crossbow Expert, you could ignore the loading property of crossbows with which you are proficient. Being within 5 feet of a hostile creature does not impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. And when you attack, take the attack action and attack with a one-handed weapon, you can use your bonus action to attack with your hand crossbow if you're holding one.
It got big time buffed because now you get a +1 to your dexterity.
That's already a huge buff.
Yeah, already we're looking pretty good here. Obviously, if you're going to be wielding a crossbow, if that's part of your goals here, this is clearly must have. Got to be level 4. Got to have a dexterity of 13 or higher. You're still going to ignore the loading property of hand crossbow, heavy crossbow, and light crossbow. Here on after, referred to as crossbows. And if you're holding one of them, you can load a piece of ammunition into it, even if you lack a free hand. So you could just be dual wielding your hand crossbows. You could have rapier in one hand. Boom, here we go. You could do tons of fun things there. When you make the extra attack of the light property, not to be confused with the dual wielder extra attack.
Very, very, very important distinction.
You can add your ability modifier to the damage of the extra attack if that attack is with a crossbow that has the light property and you aren't already adding that modifier to that damage.
I personally I'm not an enjoyer of this kind of archetype of build, like a sword and crossbow at all. But it instantaneously makes it much more viable with how they changed all of this stuff.
I was going to say, and the hand crossbow does have the Vex property, so you're just generating advantage all over the place, and I'm just going to shoot everybody to pieces with my hand crossbow.
I guess that's true as well. With the weapon masteries, you get a bunch of different effects as well with the Vex, and then the other one, it's a slow effect, so it reduces speed for the light crossbow.
Or light crossbow is slow, yeah, heavy is push.
Interesting. One of my preferred feat updates, Defensive Duelist.
Defensive Duelist was a very good feat in 2014.
Yeah.
When you're wielding a finesse weapon with which you are proficient, and another creature hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to add your proficiency bonus to your AC for that attack, potentially causing the attack to miss you. So basically, you kind of had a shield spell here. The biggest difference would be for that single attack, and instead of a +5, it's your proficiency bonus. So it's going to start out at a 2 and work its way up. This is still really nice. You're going to be able to avoid taking a hit. That's a wonderful thing to purchase with your reaction. But
sure is.
Lee, it's
but it
better.
Gets better.
It's better
It
now.
gets so much better. You immediately get +1 to your dexterity score. Mwah. Chef's kiss. Not the feat. The feat's terrible, but mwah. Chef's kiss. And it does the same exact thing However, rather than blocking and increasing your AC for one attack, it is until the start of your next turn. It is so powerful. You effectively have your proficiency bonus added on to your AC bottom line. So if you have a base AC of 18 and you're level 10 with a 4 or 11 with a 4 proficiency or 5 proficiency bonus, boom, 22 AC guaranteed.
Yep.
It's
Where is it?
It is truly bananas.
Bananas. There it is. No, I mean you have the shield spell, but better.
Yeah,
Because
honestly,
it costs you nothing.
It's so good. It is so arguably broken. There's not even like a you can do this once so many times per long rest. It's just you flat out have it. So your AC is flat out increased unless you want to take opportunity attacks, which is the one caveat.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that was a conversation I think we had, I want to say in our saying goodbye to 5e discussion where we talked a little bit about your opportunity attack thoughts and how they kind of be obnoxious. And it's like, I always felt like there just needs to be more competition for your reaction. And so this is very tempting, and I think...
So good. So good.
Strong.
It's so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. But speaking of something I love, let's move on to another one that happens to be alphabetically right after Defensive Duelist with dual wielding. Previously, with dual wielding, you would gain a +1 bonus to your AC when you're wielding a separate melee weapon in each hand. You can use the 2-weapon fighting style even when one melee weapon does not have the light property. And you can draw or stow one-handed weapons or 2 weapons when you could only normally draw or stow 1.
Yeah, this one really would have been nice to have some examples in the new player's handbook, of which there are none. If you are confused about these rules, I made a video on dual wielding and drawing and stowing with the new dual wielder feat. So it's got a prerequisite of level 4, strength or dexterity of 13, and you gain the following benefits. Right away, you're gaining a +1 to your strength or your dexterity. So here we are, we're ahead in the game. Enhanced dual wielding. When you take the attack action on your turn and attack with a weapon that has the light property, you can make 1 extra attack as a bonus action later on the same turn with a different weapon, which must be a melee weapon, that lacks the 2-handed property. You don't add your ability modifier to the extra attack's damage unless that modifier is negative. For any of you who are confused, this is different than the light weapon property attack. So effectively, if you attack with a light weapon during your attack action, you unlock 2 attacks that both compete for your bonus action. This is effectively giving you a whole other attack that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. This is a huge buff. The ability score increase, yes, you don't get the +1 to your AC, but you're getting another whole attack on your turn because of it.
Yeah, you're losing 1 AC, but are you really losing 1 AC because you're getting 1 strength or dex? And if we're being honest, dual wielding is generally a dex focused kind of area, right? And you're focusing on the light property of a weapon, which a strength build generally wouldn't want to use a light weapon. They'd want to use a heavier weapon.
Sure.
So it definitely plays into the more dex. So realistically, you're losing an AC, but you're kind of not, because you might get an AC from that dex bonus, and it will also increase your attacks. It feels like initially you might think, oh, that's not good, but then you realize, wait a second, that's actually freaking great, because you get another attack on top, and while you're not necessarily adding your attack damage modifier to it, it's still another attack. You know?
It is.
It's so good.
A lot of the stuff that's here that probably won't get fully talked about in this video is that, or the bonus action attack, I should say, the one it unlocks, just has to be a melee weapon that lacks the 2-handed property. So it's janky because this isn't how it works, but you go into it thinking main weapon could be big, little offhand weapon must be little. They kind of just disregard that concept entirely, and just the bonus action attack just has to lack the 2-handed property. This opens up a plethora of weapon mastery options at your disposal. And I think that's the intention behind it. You can discuss the the health of this whole concept in the comment section, whether you think it's good or not. That's the intention. More attacks, more weapon mastery properties to access.
All right, moving on. Next up, we have the Dueling feat, which is another fighting style feat, where when you're holding a melee weapon and no other weapon in your hand, when your other hand, you gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon, which is cool. And then the next up, we have Durable. In the past, nice. It would increase your Constitution score by 1, and then when you roll a hit die to regain hit points, the minimum number of hit points you can regain from the roll is twice your Constitution modifier. So if you have a Constitution modifier of 4, and you rolled a 2, you automatically roll an 8. So you healed a lot more than you would have expected. But they did change it a bit.
It has the prerequisite of level 4 as a general feat. You get the Constitution bonus still. You get a nice little bonus with advantage on death saving throws with Defy Death, so that's always nice.
That's massive, actually.
But it basically gives everyone a very second wind-like ability. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your hit dice, roll the die, and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll.
If I'm going to be honest, I think the change here that matters is the advantage on death saving throws.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the old Durable was great for very niche circumstances, because if we're being honest, if you're taking a short rest, you just roll how many hit dice you need, and then you stop.
Yeah.
Right? When you take the Durable feat, how it previously was, you would always be overcapped on hit dice.
Yeah, it was fantastic in a low magic setting. Like I've played in games where it was like basically no magic users allowed unless under special circumstances. So it was like, that was nice. But that's a niche use for it.
All right, Elemental Adept. In the past, in 5th edition, when you cast spells, they ignore resistance to a damage type that you chose when taking this feat. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell that deals that damage, you can treat any one as a 2. So effectively, you can't roll lower than a 2 whenever you're rolling damage for, fire, lightning, acid, cold, or thunder damage. And you can select this feat multiple times for different damage types. So you could be a fire and cold Elemental Adept.
Yeah, and the new version, prerequisite level 4, gotta have the spellcasting or the packed magic feature, and you get to buff up either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. So obviously, unless you're a weirdo, you're gonna choose your spellcasting ability, and everything else really is the same. The thing I think is really fun, like super fun, Lee, you made a video specifically, and we made a video talking about Chromatic Orb.
Oh yeah, we did.
You can treat any one on a damage die as a 2. That's really nice when you're trying to stack up doubles and you rolled a 1 and a 2 for damage. It's like, well, guess what? Here we go, boys. We're going again.
Wait, does that work that way? There's no way that works that way.
Hey, man, it says I can treat anyone.
You're right.
You can treat anyone on a damage die.
You're right. That's insane. That's so crazy.
You want to just piss off?
Doubles your freaking chances.
Because
it says you can treat. You don't have to treat.
You can.
Oh man. Yeah, it's definitely not the most exciting feat. I'll give it that. And really, the only thing that they changed about it was the increase to your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma.
Yes.
But with the update to Chromatic Orb, it might be worth a feat just for one frickin' spell.
A lot of people say the new Chromatic Orb isn't as strong as you and I both adore. We adore this new change.
All right. Next up, Fey Touch was brought over from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and Grappler got an update. Because previously it kind of sucked. You would have advantage on attack rolls against a creature you are grappling. And when you use your action to try to grapple a creature... you can use your action to try to pin a creature grappled by you. And to do so, you make another grapple check, and if you succeed, you're both restrained. Restraining a creature with an action is pretty great, but the fact that you're also restrained is kind of defeats the entire purpose of doing it. I get what they were trying to obviously if you're restraining someone, you're definitely gonna be restrained. But this is D&D. And that doesn't work in the game.
Yeah. There's going for realism, and then there's just forgetting it's a game.
Yeah, realism. Let's go back to the chef feat. Hold on a second. Level 4. Yikes.
The new one, we've got prerequisite at level 4, strength or dexterity of 13.
Oh no!
Yep. You're gonna bump up the strength or dexterity by 1, so right away, as always, we're ahead of the
Bonus.
game. Punch and grab.
No.
When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, you can use both the damage and the grapple option, and you can do this once per turn. Oh, monks are gonna like this. Attack advantage. Nope. You have advantage on attack rolls against a creature grappled by you.
Get over here!
This gets really nice when you're the elemental monk with like a 15-foot melee unarmed strike.
Oh man.
And then fast wrestler, you don't have to spend extra movement to move a creature grappled by you.
That's huge.
The monk is going to adore this. But the elemental monk, 4 elements monk, I forget the exact name. Elements? 4
Avatar.
Elements. Warrior of elements. That's it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know.
I can do this to you 15 feet away and then just drag you anywhere I want, nerd. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
This is... It makes grappling matter in a way that it used to not.
It, like you said, it makes grappling matter. Grappling has really historically not mattered in the game, except for some very niche circumstances. But this alone changes it heavily. Being able to move while you're grappling a creature is insane.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
It's so good. Next up, we have a new fighting style. Not a new fighting style, but a fighting style feat with great weapon fighting, where you can treat any 1s or 2s as damage as 3s with a 2-handed or versatile weapon. But now we move on to another one that we've talked about pretty heavily. But I think we're both on this is the better version of it, with Great Weapon Master.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of pluses and minus, you no longer have the -5 penalty to your attack roll to deal +10 extra damage. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this needs to be a heavy weapon. But you still get, or when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points with 1, you can make a melee weapon attack as a bonus action. This was where every power gamer went when it came to building out their fighters, their barbarians, their paladins. This was like, okay, this is how I'm just gonna beat the snot out of everybody I find. But there's some updates, Lee.
This one now increases your strength by 1. You also get Heavy Weapon Mastery, which is kind of the previous version of it, where rather than having a -5 penalty to your attack to add 10, any heavy weapon that you hit with the attack action, you can cause it to deal extra damage equal to that of your proficiency bonus. So gone are the days of sacrificing your chance to hit for extra damage. You now just baseline get anywhere from 2 to 6 extra damage on every single time you hit a creature with it. I do love feats, like we've talked about this before, and spells that grow with you, cantrips that grow with you, using your proficiency bonus for things that grow as you level and just grow in power. It's good for the game. It makes it feel like every decision you make matters, and as the game goes on, you get more powerful, not just from getting new and more powerful spells, but your bread and butter get stronger as well. I personally like the change. I don't like the fact that it does not apply to the bonus action attack. I think that's kind of silly and ridiculous. But overall, I think I'm probably for it.
I think it's good for the game, and I think because it scales with you, originally if you're only adding 2 or 3, it's just a nice little extra. It doesn't make you feel like you're just annihilating the face of a boss in 1 turn. It's just a little more because you're good at it, and I like that.
Next up, we're moving into a feat that is the opposite side of the spectrum from Great Weapon Master with Healer. They did change this pretty significantly. Previously, when you had a Healer's Kit, you could stabilize a creature, and they would also regain 1 hit point, meaning they were back in the fight. That it did cost your action to do so, and it did require using a Healer's Kit, which is obviously a melee range thing, so that's something to consider. As well as the fact that as an action, you can spend 1 use of your Healer's Kit to restore 1d6 plus 4 plus hit points equal to that creature's maximum number of hit dice, which effectively means their level.
Their level.
I don't know why they wrote that way. And they changed it pretty significantly from what it was, but it is an origin feat.
Yes. So as an origin feat, you could take it later on in your leveling if you wanted, but most likely you're probably going to take it in the beginning. But Battle Medic, very similar. If you have a Healer's Kit, you can use one of the uses, tend to a creature within 5 feet of you as a utilize action. and that creature can expend one of its hit point dice, and you then roll that die. The creature regains a number of hit points equal to the roll plus your proficiency bonus. Healing rerolls. Whenever you roll a die to determine the number of hit points you restore with a spell, or with this feat's battle medic benefit, you can reroll that die if it rolls a 1, and you must use the new roll. I mean, they buffed healing in general in this whole update, and this is just a nice little thing. If that's my fantasy, if I'm thinking I want to play a healer of some kind, whether it's divine soul sorcerer, a bard, a druid, whatever, I'm going right here with my origin feat, and I'm just not looking back. This is wonderful.
They definitely nerfed the healer kit utilization, because previously it would just restore 1d6 plus 4 plus their level. Now it rolls a hit die of that creature, so it expends one of their hit die, and they only add your proficiency bonus to that healing. So it definitely nerfed the healing from the battle medic. But the fact that this this affects every healing out source that you can do is so big. And like you mentioned, fifth edition used to have, I think all the healing spells at base level used to be 1 dice. Now they've all been increased to 2 dice base level, as well as the fact their scaling also increases by 2 dice per level of scaling as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just the base level now that it's increasing; it's everything as it's scaling up. So I'm making a video on this feat specifically, or at least not specifically, but going over this feat and a couple others, and looking at this mathematically. This is going to increase healing output significantly. It might be a must-have for most healers.
If I'm going to play a healer, if I'm playing a healer, this is where I'm going, and I'm not looking back.
Yeah. Great update. I think healer was useful in the last build, but honestly, this new version is just so much better and so much more versatile. Great change. Great change. Next up. Heavily armored changed very minimally, and actually we're not even going to cover it because the only actual change here was that you can now increase your constitution or strength instead of just your strength, as well as a prerequisite of being level 4. Heavy Armor Master did get changed, however, ever so slightly. Where the old version, whereas you can increase your strength by 1, and when you're wearing heavy armor, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage that you take from non-magical attacks was reduced by 3. However, it was changed a little bit.
Yeah, subtle change. Big time reaching.
Yeah.
So prerequisite of level 4, and you have to be trained with heavy armor. You're going to increase either your strength or your constitution modifier. Not the modifier, your score by 1. But the damage reduction, when you're hit by an attack while you're wearing heavy armor, any bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt to you by that attack. So it doesn't put the non-magical caveat there, so any of those 3 is reduced by an amount equal to your proficiency bonus.
That's crazy.
No longer does it have to be non-magical. Enemies constantly hit with multi-attacks that is like 3, 4, 5 attacks. You're like, oh, well, if that's the case, you might be reducing 20 damage that you're taking because you're getting hit so often, like this is must have.
And by the time you get to the point where you have 3 or 4 proficiency bonus, nearly every weapon attack against you is going to be magical anyways. So
yes,
it is such a huge buff. Yeah. It is so good.
It goes from, again, we talk about a non-magical setting. If you're playing a low magic game where you're like that, then it's must have in the old version. And now it's just like, nope, this is good anytime you're wearing heavy armor.
All right, next up we have Inspiring Leader. The only change they made to it being the fact that other classes can pick it up is obviously just better.
That's
right.
Nice. I like that change very much. There may be a lot of other choices as a caster you're going to be considering before you take this, and probably rightfully so. But again, sometimes, I know this might come as a shock to some optimizers out there, there are motivations for playing your character beyond just raw power. So, and this could fit some of those things.
All right, next up, the worst change in the entire 2024, complete nerf, and arguably the best for DMs out there, is the change to Keen Mind.
So the old school way, you increase your intelligence score by 1, you always know which way is north, you always know the number of hours left before the next sunrise or sunset, and you can accurately recall anything you have seen or heard within the past month.
Which translates to, hey DM, what happened that 2 weeks ago that I don't remember because I didn't take notes?
DMs
Right?
are going, come on, man.
The new feat completely gutted it. The ability score improvement to intelligence is still there. However, instead of always knowing what day is north, knowing how many hours are next before sunrise or sunset, or being able to accurately recall any information out of nowhere from the past month, you instead can choose a skill, being Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, or Religion, and you can gain proficiency or expertise in it if you already have proficiency. And you can take the study action as a bonus action. DMs everywhere are cheering.
The only
Players everywhere are crying.
You mean I gotta pay attention? Yeah, you gotta pay attention.
Seriously.
No, if you're here for this feat now, realistically, you're here for expertise in one of those skills.
But then the expertise is great. It is actually a great thing to get expertise and stuff like that. Like expertise in Arcana, huge.
Yeah.
Investigate any of those, or even any of those that you would be playing in a campaign. You'd probably pick things that fit your campaign, obviously. Sure. But expertise is massive. The only reason I say it's one of the biggest nerfs in all of the feats is because you can't just turn to the DM and say, "Hey DM, what happened?"
My
2 months ago
knows.
or a month ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't just say my character would know. But it's not a bad feat. But when the answer is I know everything, it's worse than it was.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I have a very gut reaction to that feat.
Is your reaction as visceral as Lee's? Let us know in the comment section.
Lucky. This is a slight difference, right? Didn't they change this very so slightly, or did they keep it the same and just specify it?
Lucky's pretty different.
What it used to be in 2014, you used to have 3 luck points, and whenever you made an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can spend 1 luck point to roll an additional d20. And you can choose to spend one of your luck points after you roll the die, but before the outcome is determined, then you can choose which of the d20s you use for the attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Contrary to that, you could also use it whenever you were attacked, and make them roll a d20 and choose again, and then you regain your luck points on a short or a long rest. A long rest.
Yep.
I thought it did the same thing, but I did just quickly brush over it.
Yeah, it's different. It's simpler, I think, and its applications are narrower, if you ask me. So, or at least the desired effect. Anyways,
okay.
You get a number of luck points equal to your proficiency bonus. Okay, and those are expended when you finish a long rest. So you're going to start off with 2 instead of 3, but then it's going to grow up to 6. Cool. Advantage. Yeah. When you roll a d20 for a d20 test, you can spend a luck point to give yourself advantage on the roll. Every rogue everywhere went, yay, I like that.
Yep.
Disadvantage. When a creature rolls a d20 for an attack roll against you, you could spend a luck point to impose disadvantage on that roll. So you're not re-rolling things, you're just imposing advantage or disadvantage on some things here. But you're going to get more of them. Is that a nerf? I think it's a nerf. I think it's a nerf overall because from my opinion, Lucky was just like, okay, this is the best feat in the whole game originally. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like nobody won't benefit from this and benefit greatly.
It doesn't feel as viscerally impactful.
Yeah, the oomph as the isn't there.
Yeah, but it is.
They do it more often.
Arguably the same thing, right? Yeah, I guess it's you get more of them. So arguably better. I don't know. What do you think about the new Lucky? Like it's you don't have that like yes moment, but you also don't. You look at the mathematically speaking, it's theoretically better, right? It's just you don't have to potentially waste it if you succeed on a roll already, right? So.
Well, you have to decide beforehand.
I know, that's what I mean is prior you wouldn't have had to waste the lucky point, whereas now you would have to waste it if you would have succeeded without it.
Yeah.
But you have 6 of them potentially. So I don't know. There's a lot there. Is it good? Is it bad? Let us know. Mage Slayer got changed quite a bit. In the past, Mage Slayer in 2014 When a creature within 5 feet of you casts a spell, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. When you damage a creature that is concentrating on a spell, that creature has disadvantage on the saving throw, maintain its concentration on that spell. And you have advantage on saving throws against spells cast by creatures within 5 feet of you. The most useless section of the entire feat. Everything else was cool, but that whole line was pointless. Yep. But they changed it up a significant amount.
Yep, you got that level 4 prerequisite. Thank you, General Feat. You get to increase your strength or dexterity by 1. So, as always, we're ahead of the game. Concentration breaker, same. You damage a creature that's concentrating, disadvantage on the save to make concentration. Then guarded mind this is juicy. If you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you can cause yourself to succeed instead. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. You have legendary resistance to an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save. That's juicy.
Yep, you're not a dragon. You don't have 3 legendary resistances, but you have 1, which is enough for when you really, really need it, right? It's light years better than the others.
It's nice because the implication is it's gonna be good against any like spellcaster. But, like, this doesn't have to just be limited to spells if it's a fear effect. Okay, well, wisdom is often the one that fights against fear effects, so you're probably going to be okay there. You're going to get possessed by a ghost. Oh, charisma. There are things here that could be used, and I like it. This is viable.
Now, we move into Magic Initiate, and this one had an interesting change that I thought was curious to me. In 2014... you could choose Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard spell list and learn 2 cantrips and from their class spell list, and you could choose 1 first-level spell from their spell list. And then you can cast the spell once at its lowest level, and then you can do that once per long rest effectively. But they did change this.
Yeah, they limit the classes you can choose from to just Cleric, Druid, or Wizard. But the nice thing about this is you get to choose what your spellcasting ability will be for the spells that you choose. So you still get 2 cantrips, just like you used to, and you still get a level 1 spell, just like you used to. The thing that's interesting here is the spell change. Whenever you gain a new level, you can replace one of the spells you chose from this feat with a different spell of the same level from the chosen spell list. So if you chose Wizard originally, you're still working with Wizard spells, but you can change it when you level up, because maybe it just didn't work out the way you wanted.
Alright, moving on. We have new feat with martial weapon training, which it just gives you a strength or dex increase of 1 and proficiency with martial weapons. All of them.
You know all the things.
Every one of them.
And the stuff.
Next up, we have Medium Armor Master, the lesser version of the Heavy Armor Master. Previously, wearing medium armor did not impose disadvantage on stealth checks, and when you wear medium armor, you can add 3 rather than 2 to your AC if you have a dexterity of 16 or higher. I think it's the exact same thing, except it got rid of the stealth check change, right?
And gives you the strength or dexterity. +1.
Yeah, so you get strength and dex +1, but you don't get the the stealth check removal of disadvantage.
Yeah, generally speaking, while you're there, you're still there. I'm kind of.
It's a change.
Yeah, it's different.
Next, we have moderately armored.
Mm-hmm.
Different than medium armor, but moderately armored.
This sucker got nerfed. Got nerfed hard.
Yeah. In the past, you would increase your strength or dex by 1, and you would gain proficiency with medium armor and shields.
No more shields for you.
Because they moved that to what? Lightly armored master or whatever the other one was?
Yeah, that's it.
Why?
Moderately armored got nerfed, and I'm mad about it.
I'm angry. It's a change that happened. It sure is. Don't know why it mattered,
but
good.
It
did. Mounted Combatant. I have one person in my Discord specifically who very much enjoys Mounted Combat, and I have multiple comments about Mounted Combat in many of my combo videos. So I'm sure many people probably are unfortunately disappointed by the fact that this really was not changed much. In the past, you would have advantage on melee attack rolls against any unmounted creature if you are mounted. You can force an attack to target your mount instead of you, and if your mount is subjected to an effect that allows it to make a dex saving throw, it only takes half damage. or takes dexterity saving throw to take half damage. It takes no damage if it succeeds. Next up, we have... Wait, am I wrong about this?
Let's find out.
Wait a minute.
Let's find out.
Wait a minute.
Got to be level 4. General feat. So we're getting an increase to your strength, dexterity, or wisdom. Which, okay. Mounted strike. While
Animals.
Yeah, animals. I mean, you got to know how to handle them, am I right? So mounted strike. While mounted, you have advantage on attack rolls against any unmounted creature within 5 feet of your mount that is at least one size smaller than the mount. Leap aside if your mount is subjected to an effect that allows it to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage. It instead takes no damage if it succeeds on the saving throw and only half if it fails. If your mount, or for your mount to gain this benefit, you must be riding it, and neither of you can have the incapacitated condition. So you got to be on the mount, you got to be coherent, and it's got evasion. Then you've got veer. While mounted, you can force an attack that hits your mount to hit you instead if you don't have the incapacitated condition. So it's largely the same.
It's the same thing!
I don't use mounted rules. I don't use mounted fighting. If given a chance...
Cut it! We're moving to the next one!
Okay. Plus one to strength, dexterity, or wisdom. Here we are.
Oh my god, I wasn't even wrong. My notes didn't tell me I was wrong.
I was
got
trying to read them at the same time.
Alright, what do we got? Observant. Screw feet. Screw mounted combat. Screw you. Alright. That didn't happen. Observant is a feat that got changed and updated a lot. I think. I don't know anymore. I don't know what to believe. In the past, you would increase your intelligence or wisdom score by 1 up to a maximum of 20. If you could see a creature's mouth moving and if you understood their language, you could interpret what they were saying by reading their lips. You had the ability to read lips. And you had a +5 bonus to your passive wisdom perception checks and passive intelligence investigation scores.
I like the 2024 version better because the old version, I used to do the eagle option for the barbarian where you could see things perfectly a mile away.
Oh.
You were the perfect spy.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Anyways, the 2024 version, you've got level 4 prereq, intelligence or wisdom of 13 or higher. And of course, you can still increase your intelligence or wisdom by 1. And then you get Keen Observer. You can choose one of the following skills: Insight, Investigation, or Perception. And you either become proficiency or you get expertise in that. But then Quick Search, something I think most DMs kind of just, I just let you search things for free. I didn't even take a bonus action. But now, instead of having to take your action, it takes a bonus action. So if you're one of those tables that actually uses the rules here, this is nice. Otherwise, you're just here for the expertise.
It's the same thing as Keen Mind.
I was going to say, yeah.
Same thing as Keen Mind.
Yep. Otherwise, you're just here for expertise.
It sounds like your grievance with Observant is my grievance with Keen Mind. It's like you can see the guards whispering their password to one another.
I have such an issue with the +5 bonus, just the passive scores in general, because people are like, well, I can't ever roll lower than my passive score. And it's like, just not. And it's never something that I really like. To me, it's like, if you're not actively doing something, that's when you use your passive score. That's the way I run it at my tables. And so someone's like, well, my perception is 36 because of everything that I do.
Shut up. Yeah. It's not, you don't get to choose when and not when you want to roll and when you don't want to roll. Just stop. I do miss the ability to read lips. I think reading lips is something that's really like a cool thematic thing that could get a lot of cool use.
Sure.
But you know, you're right. I along with your grievances of just your passive scores and your mile away reading someone's lips with your freaking eagle eyes. Look with your elf eyes, Legolas. Yeah. What do you see?
I see lips moving in a language I understand.
Piercer was brought over from, I believe, Tasha's. And I believe Poisoner was updated pretty significantly from Tasha's, actually. In the past, the Poisoner feat has been good, but ultimately overlooked because of poison damage. But effectively, whenever you roll a damage roll that deals poison damage, it ignores resistance to poison damage. So that immediately makes it very good feat previously. When you take the Poisoner feat in 2014, you can apply poison to a weapon or a piece of ammunition as a bonus action rather than an action. So you could just poison your blades and stuff like that. And then you also gain proficiency with the Poisoner kit if you don't already have it. And with 1 hour of working with the poison kit and expending a certain amount of money, you can create a number of poison doses equal to your proficiency bonus. So anywhere from 2 to 6 doses. And you can apply them that retain their potency for up to a minute, meaning that every attack would deal your extra poison damage on top. And it's a DC of 14 con save to take 2d8 poison damage and become poisoned until the end of your next turn. I do think they changed that bit specifically, but I'll let you go over that.
Yeah, you're going to increase dexterity or intelligence here, so you're getting an ability score bonus. You are still ignoring resistance to poison damage, so that if you're looking at even the poison spray cantrip, this is a nice little thing. But yeah, if you're brewing poison and then you're going to use that poison, just like you mentioned in the old version, the saving throw isn't just a flat 14. It's con save, but it's equal to 8 plus the modifier of the ability increased by this feat and your proficiency bonus. So if you're a wizard doing this for like poison things, like poison spray, and you got that intelligence, I mean, it's equal to your spell save DC. I think did the old one have 2d8 poison damage? It
did. It had the same effect. The only difference is the saving throw.
So yeah, this is a buff for sure.
Yeah, it's a huge buff. I mean, as soon as you get the 3 proficiency bonus in this, you're pretty much at where you used to be.
And the ability score bonus too.
Exactly. And as you're growing in level, it becomes harder and harder. Your spell save DC or your poison DC increases.
You're better at poison.
Just a quality of life buff. Yeah. Like, it's not super impactful because it's still a con save, and we all know how con saves are in the game. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's a slight buff to it, and you get a bonus to your dex or intelligence, which is another just great bonus.
Yep.
So
I'm a dwarf. I resist poison. Not
no,
with
you
me.
Don't. Exactly. Might not be the most impactful change, but it is an improvement. So good on them for making Poisoner slightly better. Next up, we have Polearm Master. Because I think the old version, the main difference with it was it specified weapons, being a glaive, a halberd, a quarterstaff.
Yeah, specific ones.
And the new version, I believe, just says heavy and reach weapons. I think that's really the only difference, alongside the fact that it increases your dex or strength.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely the same. It's just a way to weaponize your reaction, and obviously it's still going to pair really well with Sentinel. So there's gonna be a lot of things here that people are. If you were here for it before, you're still here for it, and now you get to increase your dexterity or strength by 1. So
it's just better.
Yep.
You get another bonus to your stats.
Oh yeah.
I know Polearm Master is one of those things that's very polarizing in the community, because people either love to abuse it or love to hate it. You know, and they have very strong feelings towards it because of the Sentinel combo you already brought up.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Protection Fighting Style, a new feat. When a creature you can see attacks a target other than you within 5 feet, you can take a reaction to impose your shield if you're holding one, imposing disadvantage on the attack roll. And all other attack rolls against that target until the start of your next turn, as long as you remain within 5 feet of them. Pretty much just putting disadvantage on another friend of yours.
Yeah, very simple.
Within 5 feet. It's cool.
Yep.
Resilient. The only change here was it has a prerequisite as a general feat of level 4. Same thing. You gain proficiency in a saving throw using a chosen ability. And you can increase one of your ability scores by 1. That's it.
Yep.
Prereq 4.
Resilient bread and butter thing, especially for casters that lack Constitution saving throw proficiency. That's probably the most popular.
Ritual Caster got a interesting change. In the previous version, 2014 5th edition, Ritual Caster, you would learn a number of spells that you can cast as ritual spells. Effectively, you can just cast them in your spellbook as rituals. You could learn 2 first-level spells of your choice, being from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard spell list, and you must choose spells from that spell list with the ritual tag. And then you use the spellcasting ability modifier associated with that class as well. And then also you could take spells in written form, like spell scrolls, and add them into your ritual book if you find them. And that's the previous version of Ritual Caster, but this got significantly changed and updated with 2024.
It very much did. So obviously you got your level 4 prereq, and you either have to have Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma of 13 or higher, and you're going to increase one of those ability scores by 1 as well, just like all general feats do. You're still going to be able to choose ritual spells, just like the other one, but they start out at level 1 spells, but it's equal to your proficiency bonus that have the ritual tag, and you will always have those spells prepared, and you can cast them with any spell slots you might have. So you're just gaining gaining spells known, or to use the current terms, spells prepared. The spellcasting ability is the ability you chose with this feat, very similar to like Magic Initiate. But whenever your proficiency bonus increases, you get to add an additional level 1 spell with the ritual tag to the spells you always have prepared with this feature. This doesn't limit you to like picking, druid spells or whatever, like cleric spells. Like you just pick any one that has the ritual tag. That's nice. And then you've got quick ritual, which lets you cast a ritual spell that you have prepared using its regular casting time rather than the extended time for a ritual. Doing so doesn't require a spell slot, and then you could do that once, and then you got to finish a long rest.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, there are definitely moments where you're like, do I really have enough time to sit there for 10 minutes and cast Detect Magic?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because there's so, like, I'm going through the ritual spell list now just to kind of get a good sense of what spells there are. And a lot of the ritual spells tend to be things like, Find Familiar, Detect Magic,
Identify.
Purified Food, Identify,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's definitely interesting things to think about here, and I didn't think about them prior to this, but it's a cool update. I'd have to look more into that to get more details about it, but I kind of like that. I think it's very interesting.
I agree.
Next, we have Savage Attacker. The only difference here is the fact that they clarified that it does not require a melee weapon.
Yeah.
Whereas in previous 2014, it used to require a melee weapon. It no longer says melee, it just says weapon. So, when you've trained to deal particularly damaging strikes once per turn when you hit with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll. So, you get a double chance to roll better damage.
Yet another reason why I like my D12 over my D6s. The Math Warriors. Always assuming optimal conditions when they come to me.
Yeah, exactly.
If you jump through these
Sentinel.
12 hoops, everything works out exactly as I have foreseen. Like, okay,
Man,
Palpatine.
I just made a video. Dude, I just made a video about the ideal conditions for chromatic orb splitting perfectly every single time, so I get it.
Yeah, but your premise in that video wasn't you assuming ideal conditions. You were like, no, this works 80% of the time. Like, or whatever, whatever the numbers were exactly.
80% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Sentinel. Only difference here was it does the exact same thing, but you get an ability score increase for strength or dex.
Yeah.
I hate Sentinel. I hate this feat, but
it pairs as well with with Polearm Master as the fine wine with a nice medium rare steak.
Take Sentinel, throw it out the window, and then set your window on fire. That's how mad I am about Sentinel.
What do you think about Sentinel? Let us know in the comment section.
It's stupid. It's a stupid feat. It has no whatever. I have a whole video about it you can watch. Sharpshooter. This was a very interesting change. So much worse. So much worse than it was.
Legacy version. Attacking at long range doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged weapon attack rolls. Your ranged weapon attacks ignore half cover and 3/4 cover, and just like the old Great Weapon Master, when you make an attack, or before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you are proficient with, you can choose to take a -5 penalty to the attack roll, and if the attack hits, you add +10 to the attack's damage.
Prepare to be disappointed, archers of 2014, as the new 2024 edition of Sharpshooter increases your dexterity by 1. Nice.
That's a nice way to start off. Okay.
Your ranged attacks with weapons ignore half cover and 3/4 cover.
That's the same.
Same thing.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, we're good.
Nice.
Cool.
Long shots. Attacking at long range does not impose disadvantage on your attack rolls. Nice.
Very good.
Great. Great.
Everything's great.
Now, being within 5 feet of an enemy doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. If I'm a sharpshooter,
yeah, I'm thinking about.
do I want to shoot from far away with like everything else that is talking about in this feat? Or do I want to be within 5 feet of my enemy and shooting them in the gut? It doesn't even do extra damage.
There's some thematic issues here. There's some thematic issues.
This is my vote for the worst change to a feat.
Okay.
I think this is by far not only thematically atrocious, but pointless. Because think about this. You have Crossbow Expert, which effectively does the same thing for the disadvantage in melee, and does more for you than this would ever do.
Yeah, the crossbow builder is still looking at the ignoring cover feature and the using the long range of attacks, especially the hand crossbow user is very meh.
I'm angry.
It's very meh.
I'm angry.
It's very meh.
I'm angry. I'm angry, Jake. I'm angry.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
I don't even play a ranger. Josh would be so disappointed in this feat.
Ironically, in our video, Josh likes it. And I would love to see to see the two of you get on a call and talk about this.
What the is wrong with him?
He likes.
What do you like this feat?
I don't really necessarily care about this. I think it has a use, but it's not really must-have anymore. It has a use.
How could a ranger player like this feat?
You're gonna have to have it. Let us know in the comment section. Do we need to have intervention? I'll moderate this between the two of you.
I need to talk to I need to talk to Josh about that because I honest to God don't understand this. Because
he likes the option of not needing a melee weapon. That's something I know he mentioned.
So it costs a whole feat?
But he also likes getting the dexterity bonus.
Okay, so the only thing that you benefit from this then is you can do it with a bow and not a crossbow.
Well, yes.
That's the only difference here.
Well, the crossbow user's still going to want to use this because you're still going to want to ignore cover. And you're
No, I know, but what I'm saying is you get the same benefits from Crossbow Expert being in melee.
But this also extends your effective range on ranged weapons still. And that's a big deal. That's a point I will say Josh has.
I guess so, but if you have an effective range, why the ever-living would you want to be in melee range if you're extending your long range? I get sometimes ideal conditions aren't met. Understand that 100%.
Sure.
Pull out a longsword.
I'm not saying you don't have a point. I'm not saying you don't have a point.
I don't understand. Josh, I'm upset at you now.
We need to send him this clip.
Josh, get at me in the comments below.
Okay, if you're still looking for that damage boost that it used to provide, you are going to now have to take a different feat because a longbow or another weapon that has the heavy property can still benefit from the damage boost of a great weapon master. So if you're coming here for the damage boost, you're going to be disappointed.
I'm not even.
You're just not coming here.
I'm just not coming here. Like
I want to see you build an
like,
archer though,
like,
and I want.
I will say, Sharpshooter's it's a great feat. Bypassing cover, increasing your effective range, fantastic. I don't think the feat's bad. What I'm saying is bad is thematically you are literally opposite.
Big disconnect on that. That feature.
Huge disconnect. And the fact that the old version did everything the new version does and much more than just the disadvantage in melee range, I think it's a huge miss. Mm-hmm. I would still take it if I was a ranger because that effective range is a huge thing, and I will. And you're still 100%.
You're still getting your dexterity boost too. So
yeah.
Tell us some ranged character archer builds in the comments section. about Sharpshooter? Is this something you're going to take? On our video, a lot of people are like, I'm never taking this. A lot of people are like, no, it's still good. So which camp are you on? Is this as bad as Spirit Shroud?
Yikes. We're not going down that route again. I will admit Sharpshooter is still viable. All right? But I will not say it is good or better than what it was.
All right.
Moving on.
Kind of admit Spirit Shroud isn't viable. Is that sort of what you're implying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. Okay. But I am saying Conjure Minor Elementals. My God.
Well, yes.
Yes, please.
Yes. That's apples to monkey wrenches.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Shield Master. This one got a little bit of a change, I believe.
I love this.
In the past, in 2014, I know I do like the whole idea of a Shield Master.
Yeah.
In 2014, if you take the attack action on your turn, you can use your bonus action to try and shove a creature within 5 feet of you with your shield. Cool. If you aren't incapacitated, you can add your shield's AC bonus to any dexterity saving throw. And if you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw or take half damage, you can use your reaction to instead take no damage if you succeed by putting your shield between you and the source of whatever the explosion or effect was.
Yep.
Which is great. I think that's a cool feat.
Solid.
Maybe not the most exciting feat, but it gives shield users some more versatility.
Very solid.
But the update did get some changes.
Yeah, you have your prerequisite of level 4, and you have to obviously know how to use a shield. But you're going to get a +1 to your strength, which is always nice. Shield Bash. This is a really nice feature, and it's a nice backdoor weapon mastery path. You attack a creature within 5 feet of you as part of the attack action, and hit with a melee weapon, you can immediately bash the target with your shield if it's equipped, forcing the target to make a strength save, using your strength modifier as your spellcasting DC. And on a failed save, you push the target 5 feet from you, or you can cause it to have the prone condition. God forbid we say knock it prone. You can only use this benefit only once per turn. This doesn't require your bonus action anymore.
Just a big quality of life buff.
And a +1 to your strength.
Next up, we have Skilled, which is ever so slightly changed with a prerequisite, I believe. Oh, wait, no, they changed it. It does not have a prerequisite.
Its origin feat is the same.
Oh, you can take the feat more than once. That's the main difference. There it is.
Skilled. Buffed.
Yep, that's pretty cool. I like it. It doesn't give you expertise, but buffed. What are you doing?
Just feel like we're fading into the next point.
Okay, let's just do this and slowly fade into the next point.
Yeah. Okay.
Skulker. Skulker got a little bit of a change. Previously in 2014, you are an expert at slinking through shadows. You can try to hide when you are lightly obscured from creatures from which you are hiding from. When you are hidden from a creature and miss it with a ranged weapon attack, making the attack does not reveal your position, and dim light does not impose disadvantage on your wisdom perception checks relying on sight.
Something most tables ignore.
Exactly. Something no one ever uses.
Now it's a level 4 general feat, so you got to be level 4. You also have to have dexterity of 13. You do get to increase your dexterity by 1. You have blind sight with a range of 10 feet.
Love that.
Fog of War, you exploit the distractions of battle, gaining advantage on any dexterity stealth check you make as part of the hide action during combat. And as a sniper, if you make an attack roll while hidden and the roll misses, making the attack does not reveal your location. So blind sight and the +1 to your dex are the big draws here.
Your Skyrim stealth sniper build. You know, that's what this is.
Exactly.
It's cool. I like it. Blind sight's great. I love blind sight. But just adding that dexterity makes this feat a little bit more worth it to me. Because, stealth archer builds in D&D, I don't think traditionally work very well. Overall, they definitely did improve it. So well done.
Speedy.
All right. Oh, and here we go to the Speedy set with mobile. So this was the new mobile, I suppose, right?
Yep.
Mobile is now being called Speedy, but previously, mobile increased your speed by 10 feet. You can use the dash action, and when you do that, difficult terrain does not cost you extra movement. And when you make a melee attack against a creature, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from the creature for the rest of the turn. So, if you hit a creature, pouch in the face, you could then move away from them, and it does not invoke opportunity attacks. The new version, however, is now called Speedy.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a general feat, prerequisite level 4, and then you need either a dexterity or constitution of 13 or more. And you get to increase either your dexterity or your constitution by 1 point. You still get the plus 10 to speed. You still get to ignore difficult terrain's extra movement costs when you take the dash action on your turn. But instead of having to attack someone and then they can't hit you with an opportunity attack, just all opportunity attacks have disadvantage against you. I'm gonna call this a buff because you get the plus 1 to your dexterity or your constitution. That agile movement part is nerfed, but I kind of like that it doesn't step on the swashbuckler's toes. That makes that swashbuckler feature feel kind of special. Throughout the years when Josh and I would make a video on movement or things like that and builds, we'd be like, just consider the mobile feat. Just consider it. It's not super sexy, but it's like baked into so many cool things. And when your best ability is your availability, you're moving faster, you're where you need to be, you're doing all these things.
You know what's interesting to me about Speedy is it's not meant for necessarily classes that have bonus action disengages, right? And if we're being honest, the less mobile classes in general, like paladins or clerics, don't get like 3, 4, 5 attacks like a monk or a fighter would, right? Theoretically, this would maybe be better because you wouldn't be locked into having to attack to remove the opportunity attack.
Yeah.
They nerfed the agile movement part of it, but they added the dexterity bonus to it. So, I mean, is it a nerf? Because it's every opportunity attack. It's not requiring you to attack something. So it's I don't know. It's a give or take here. Like, but you know, what do you think in the comments? Did they nerf it? Is it a buff? I don't know. What do you think? Let us know. Spell Sniper. This was an interesting and I think great change. So why don't you go over the legacy version of it, and I'll cover the new version.
Sure. You've learned techniques to enhance your attacks with certain kinds of spells, gaining the following benefits. When you cast a spell that requires you to make an attack roll, the spell's range is doubled. Your ranged spell attacks ignore half and 3/4 cover. And then you also learn one cantrip that requires an attack roll. Choose the cantrip from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard spell list. Your spellcasting ability for this cantrip depends on the spell list you choose from. Charisma for Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wisdom for Cleric or Druid, or Intelligence for Wizard.
Spell Sniper, the original one, was really one of those, cheesy feats that you got with like the, not extended spell.
The doubling the range.
The sorcerer meta magic ability. I don't remember what it's called. Distant spell.
Yeah.
For the cheese Eldritch Blast and, missiles from miles away, right?
Which no one ever really used.
Which no one ever really did. But the new version is actually really freaking cool, I think. It's a prerequisite level 4 with spellcasting or pack magic. You get an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifier increase of 1, which is great. You can bypass cover for spells with half or 3/4 cover, no longer affect your spells. Being within 5 feet of an enemy does not impose disadvantage on attack rolls with spells, which is huge. And your increased range is no longer doubling a certain spell, but when you cast a spell that has a range of at least 10 feet and requires you to make an attack roll, you can increase that spell's range by 60 feet. So you effectively have a range of at least 70 feet for any ranged attack spell now with this new feat update.
Very nice.
Is massive.
Very nice.
Because before, something like Poison Spray that had a 10-foot range, Spell Sniper would only make it 20-foot range.
Yeah, I think
now
the new one has...
it has an effective 70-foot range.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the new one
or
has 30.
100 foot,
yeah,
I guess. 90 feet. I don't know. Math.
Yeah. It does increase a lot. And honestly, getting that +1 to your spellcasting modifier, ignoring cover, and being able to use that one ranged attack in melee is nice. It's nice. You could Ray of Frost the person in front of you and then walk away.
Yeah.
They'll probably attack you, but
whatever, still. Either way, but it's big, right? Like, you can do that. You're still effective if a fighter gets in your face, right? It's not like you're completely crippled. You still need to get out of there, but, you have options.
Agreed.
And the fact that this doesn't just... It makes spells that have less than 60 feet much more effective. Granted, that's a smaller list, but let's be frank here. you generally don't have to
frank.
double a 120-foot range spell. Going to 240 feet, the amount of times that is useful is so few and
Just
far
look at the
between.
maps on D&D Beyond. You'll know. You'll see.
You'll understand, right? Exactly. But adding 60 feet to pretty much every ranged spell attack,
That's a meaningful.
just great.
That's a meaningful change.
yeah, exactly. So I think it's a great change.
Absolutely.
Next up, Tavern Brawler got changed a little bit, I think.
It did.
In 2014, you could increase your strength or con by 1. You get proficient with improvised weapons, which is cool. Your unarmed strike uses a d4 for damage, and when you hit a creature with an unarmed strike or an improvised weapon on your turn, you can use your bonus action to attempt to grapple the target. So, just on a hit, you can grapple.
So now it's an origin feat in 2024. You're still increasing your unarmed strike damage to a d4 from 1. A nice thing here is that whenever you roll the damage die for your unarmed strike, whenever you roll a 1, you can re-roll that die. So your unarmed strike damage is going to become more reliable or less disappointing. I think I like saying less disappointing whenever you roll that 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still going to get proficiency with improvised weapons. Then you have the push feature. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, you can deal damage to the target and also push it 5 feet away. You can use this benefit only once per turn. A lot of people, I made the point, you don't like this. Okay. You disappointed?
I'm not disappointed. I've never been a fan of the Tavern Brawler feat. I've not been a big fan.
I think
but I go ahead.
I was gonna say I think monks are gonna love this. Most people hated that take on my video, but I don't care.
Why?
Because now Grappler and Tavern Brawler lets me make unarmed strikes as my attack, my regular action. I can push you rather than only doing it once. I have more times I can push.
You can only push once with this, right?
Once with Tavern Brawler, once with Grappler, and so I could do it twice. And I'm also going to re-roll my damage die with my unarmed strikes.
I guess that is
if
big
I roll
for
a 1.
Monk, yeah.
So
I guess that's big, yeah.
And as I start doing flurry of blows and eventually, making a million attacks a turn, you can do things like that. Is it the greatest thing ever? No. But I think this is. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on this when it comes to the monk.
Yeah, I think my reaction is what most people probably see when they read this, and it's a very basic, just really quick read over it. And it's when you think about it with the monk, you're immediately enhanced unarmed strike means nothing to us because you're a monk. Of course. So that's cutting half of the feet off. Mm-hmm. But that being said, you're right. It definitely does and could stack pretty well with that. And looking at the damage reroll, that immediately makes it much more worthwhile for a monk because it doesn't
more
just
than everybody.
Yeah. They do so many unarmed strikes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I didn't consider that. That's actually a pretty big consideration. Yeah. Now you do lose your strength or con modifier bonus to this, which is, I think, kind of a big bummer here for me.
Yeah. Because it's an origin feat. Yep.
But I mean,
can't learn to do bar fighting except at the beginning.
Exactly, I guess so. But being a chef, you get that modifier.
You can't learn to bar fight.
But you can learn to bar fight, but you can't learn to cook. I don't know.
The tangled web we weave.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting. Sure. I'm not excited about it, but I can see what you're saying about it, and I can agree with it.
I know sense. When I play a monk with the 2024 rules, I want to try it.
Yeah, I would probably consider this as well heavily, just because of that reroll bonus.
I just want to try it.
All right, next up we have thrown weapon fighting, which is another fighting style where it has thrown weapon property, getting a +2 bonus to damage rolls.
More damage, more
cool. Next we have
2 weapon fighting.
You make an extra attack as a result of using a weapon that has the light property. You can add your ability modifier to the damage of that attack. So it's just the fighting style.
Yep.
Good.
Much the same thing.
Now we have unarmed fighting. When you hit with an unarmed strike to deal damage, you can deal bludgeoning damage equals to 1d6 plus your strength modifier instead of the normal damage of an unarmed strike. If you aren't holding any weapons or a shield, you can make the attack roll. The d6 becomes a d8. Right? And at the start of each of your turns, you can deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage to one creature grappled by you.
I do think there could be some fun interplay between fighters and monks with a multi-classing build here, but
Yeah.
For me, that's a little more complicated than I just want to be with things. But I could see people having fun there.
Next up, we have Warcaster. Legacy. In the past 2014, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws that you make to maintain concentration on a spell when you take damage. The classic, make sure you don't lose the concentration feat. Exactly. You can perform the somatic component of spells even with weapons and shields in both of your hands. And when a hostile creature's movement provokes an attack of opportunity, you can use your reaction to cast a spell at the creature rather than making it to opportunity attack. This spell must have a casting time of 1 action and must target only 1 creature.
Really, the only thing is if so you're going to get an ability score increase, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. I kind of think Constitution should be in that list. Just a thought there. Sort of feels like the spirit of that one. But you still have your advantage on your con saves for concentration. You still have your reactive spell with the opportunity attack. You can do your reaction, do the things and the stuff. And then if you're just ignoring the rules of having a shield and weapon in your hand and you want to be able to do the somatic components, like I said, people are pretty much ignoring that anyways, but you could do that.
Yeah.
You know.
And then the last feat, Weapon Master. Yeah, previously you just got proficiency with the 4 weapons. But the new version, go ahead, you talk about it, because I just missed it.
No, you're going to increase your strength or dex just like you used to, but now if you want to have a weapon mastery on something that you don't normally have, you can do that. So if you're going to be that druid or that wizard that wants to use the conjure minor elementals,
yes,
you want to have that Nick weapon to get that extra one in there.
So good.
Bam! 100 D8.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
This is nice too for like the war cleric or those kinds of things that you might or maybe you just want to have another weapon mastery unlocked in your day. I don't know.
Weapon masteries, I need to look more into those. I'm going to spend a good amount of time this week going over weapon masteries because that was one of my next ideas for a new video, just to cover those, because there's so much that could go with them because they're so kind of all-encompassing with how they handle things.
I have some thoughts on weapon masteries. We did a very quick cursory video on J&J. We just kind of talk about how they work and just what some of them are, and we didn't do too much. We might do a deep dive. Overall, weapon masteries, I think they could have done a better job with it. But that might be a video for another time.
It might be, but if you want to see J&J and Jake's take on weapon masteries, at least their preliminary takes, go check out the video on his channel, JNJTabletop. But that's all we have time for today. It was a very long video.
Yeah, good times.
For the feats. But yeah. Again, if you like this video, if you like Jake, go check out JNJTabletop. They do fantastic videos on D&D. They have some pretty terrible takes about some spells, but they have some pretty good takes as well. And they deserve all of the support that they can get. Some of the nicest guys I've ever met over there. Some of the most handsome, too. Not the one here today, but the other one. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.